Our topic is very relevant, as has been pointed out right in the beginning. And in fact, that first quotation was already, it was already quoted. We'll again see it once more. So what is worry? Because the beautiful definition given by Paramhansa Yoganandaji describes very clearly. Because sometimes the emotions, we can't really describe them or define them. Though we know, like, what is love? You know, it's very difficult to say what is love. And similarly, what is worry? We all know it's a vague feeling inside, but how to express it? Whereas Paramhansa Yoganandaji has given us a very precise definition of that, what exactly it is. That means we can very easily relate to this. That means when we feel helpless and we are having an apprehension, as our Chetanji said in the beginning itself, that is, all the people in the world now, most of them, they are all going through this phase of helplessness and apprehension on a global level. So we have at the individual level and also at the global level, we also have this worry. So this is a common problem, universal problem, and in this particular time, this topic is really very relevant because, you know, and one more thing is, this getting rid of worry is not just only for this time actually, though it is very relevant at this time, but this is an eternal problem. So which one has faced in the past and one will face in the future also. It will continue to be there. Now, just the opposite side of worry, because today's topic is a little bit challenging. Because is it really possible to get rid of worry and to live in joy? It seems like a far-fetched idea. Is it really possible? Because we are all living in this practical world where we are having all these problems. So that is why let us just turn to Taittiriya Upanishad, where it says, from joy we came, okay, and for joy we live. Now you see, that line itself, from joy we came, for joy we live. What does it mean? That means our real nature is joy only. From joy only we have come. And we are also supposed to be living in joy. And when the particular role we are playing now is over, we will again melt back in that sacred joy. So it's such a beautiful thought. That means we have come from joy, we are supposed to be living in joy, and also we are going to melt back in joy. So it seems very incredible that we are supposed to have come from joy, and also we are meant to live in joy. So great masters or saints, those who have penetrated to the core of reality, in their compassion, share their knowledge with all. They all have testified that a divine universal plan exists, and that is beautiful and full of joy. Can you believe that? There is a divine universal plan which is beautiful and full of joy. Paramhansa Yoganandaji is one such master of this modern age, whose world-acclaimed autobiography, Yogi, and other writings have brought clear understanding of what we are all really seeking. In his maiden speech in America, delivered in Boston in 1920, exactly 100 years before, we are in fact celebrating the centenary of that event, which was later, this lecture was later published in the form of a book called Science of Religion, where he explains logically and lucidly that each one of us is pursuing a common universal goal, irrespective of our background, our nationality, our religion, etc. That goal is freedom from all suffering. That is threefold troubles arising from physical diseases, mental inharmonies, and spiritual ignorance, which is the mother of all diseases, because ignorance is the cause of all the other problems, and regain our native state of immortal, infinite bliss, Sat Chit Anand. That is to know who we really are. The basic issue is identity crisis. We are actually, in reality, a soul, Atman. And we have a mind and body. These are the instruments given to us. When we properly place our sense of identity, then we experience our native state of Satchidanand, ever existing, ever conscious, ever new joy. So we are in fact the soul or Atman, a spark of the infinite. Jivatma is a little part of the Paramatma. But our soul is covered with three bodies made of thoughts, energy, and matter to enable us to play our human roles for a while. So we are trustees of Paramatman, whatever way you want to call God or whichever way you want to, Supreme Spirit. That Paramatman has entrusted us to take care of these these instruments, body and mind. But instead of caring for these instruments in an objective way, just like suppose we care for a car or we care for a building, we care for some other equipment. How we take care of it? Very objective way. We don't become identified with that. We don't get emotionally involved in that. We take care of it. But instead of taking care like that, in that way, caring for our bodies and minds, we become identified with them in a subjective way rather than caring for them in an objective way. And that creates all worries and all sorts of troubles. So this is one important point we need to understand. The mask of feelings that covers the beautiful soul. Soul is beautiful. It is joy. It is peace. It is love. It is wisdom. It is power. It is everything. But the mask of feelings that covers the soul. So we need to remember that temporarily we are playing the human roles. But in doing that, playing that role, we have forgotten our real nature and become entrapped in a complex web of desires in this creation governed by duality. Then what to do? Because this is the state of affairs. Somehow we have forgotten who we are. We have forgotten that we are souls, we are Atman. And we have identified quite a bit with our body and mind. We think we are the body, we are the soul, we are the mind. Though they are our instruments, but we have identified with them. But this is not some strange idea. Night when we sleep, what happens? We are detached from the body. We are detached from the senses. Where are we then? We are experiencing that ever new joy, but in a very unconscious way. We are not aware of it. That is why we have a lot of troubles and worries. We go to sleep, we wake up and we are fresh. We are ready to face the day. How come? What happened? This is the miracle every day which is happening. God is producing that miracle where we detach from the bodies and the mind. We go inside, connect with our Atman and feel again our native state of joy. That is why we become rejuvenated. We become recharged. Then we are ready to face the situation. So that gives a hint. This is what our rishis and munis, long before they did research and found that it is possible that consciously we can experience that state. I will come to that later. Now, what to do then? When we know that we are identified with the body and mind and we become worried. So let us take one practical advice from Paramahansa Yoganandaji. So we have every day a thought which is there in our website, yssofindia.org. You can see every day, you can refer to that. Every day we have a different thought on different subject. So this is also available in a book called Spiritual Diary, where you see today's thought is so relevant to us. It is on courage. I laugh at all fears because my beloved God, who is Father, Mother, and Beloved, is attentively awake and present everywhere with a deliberate purpose of protecting me from temptations of evil. So this is possible to do if we have the loving relationship with the infinite. So this is one very important point. Most of the people in the world, they don't think about it. That we can have a loving relationship with the infinite, our creator. We don't have to fear a God, but we can love him. and we can have that very close, loving relationship, intimate relationship with the divine. If we do that, then we see that all the time there is somebody behind us. Suppose we have somebody who is very strong, who can defend us at all time, who loves us, who cares for us. Will we be worried? Will we be afraid? Not at all, isn't it? So this is what we need to cultivate, because this doesn't come automatically. It comes by cultivation of this thought and cultivation of this habit that always I am protected that way. Okay, we go to the next slide. So some practical advice about how to take steps to act in this world. We have to act in this world. Because we have been given the responsibility. We are all trustees of this body and mind. So we have to do our job. We have to carry out our duties where we have been placed. So how to do that without getting into worries? So Paramahansa Yogananda gives very practical advice. So to face any type of situation, a 3-step process is given by Paramahansa Yogananda. Number 1, calmly analyze the situation. So this is the first thing. इसको ऐसा बता सकते हैं हम, चिंता नहीं करना बल्कि चिंतन करना. So हम लोग normally we get into the mode of चिंता करना. We start worrying straight away. So instead of that, we have to think about it. We have to calmly analyze the situation. Objectively look at this situation. Look at the pros and cons. Look at how we got into this situation and how we can get out of the situation or how we can resolve this problem, whatever. So calmly analyze the situation using our faculty of logical thinking and also little bit of our feeling. Now comes the next point, very important point. This what is missed by many people. We do analysis. Many of us surely do this analysis. May not be so calm state of mind. That is also important. We have to analyze in a calm state of mind. If we are troubled, we are emotionally, we are disturbed, we are angry, we are fearful, we are upset, we are tense, or we are depressed. At the time, our analysis of the situation is not accurate because we are biased by that emotion, which is actually don't make us see in the right way. So calmly analyzing is very important. But then just analyzing only with logical thinking is not enough. Because modern psychology, now the development in psychology and medical sciences, they all tell us that we have in the brain 2 sides, right brain, left brain. Both of them should be developed in a parallel way. And one side is focused on the logical side, one is on the logical side, second one is intuitive or feeling oriented. So when we have a perfect balance of both, then our decision will be quite correct. That's why second point is intuitively feel the inner guidance. This is why inner guidance is necessary. We ourselves can just do it. The problem is, so we are all interconnected in this creation, created by the infinite spirit. Whatever way we want to call is fine. So this supreme intelligence is organized the whole show and very mathematically and precisely running the whole show. Macro, micro, everything. Just a little bit of analysis is enough to convince us about that. You see all the planets and the stellar systems and everything, perfectly they are in their particular places. Like for example, sun and earth. If earth is a little bit more closer to the sun, then because of the heat, then that no life will be possible. And if you are too far away, it will be too cold. Again, it is not possible. So the correct exact distance, it has been kept. And this principle of balance comes in physics also, centripetal force, centrifugal force. Both of them, they balance each other perfectly. So God is running the whole world in a very perfectly mathematically, calculated and a perfect way. So our lives are also guided that way. How can we think that when all the other things are mathematically controlled, our lives are haphazard? It's not possible, isn't it? It doesn't seem logical or reasonable. So our lives are also guided by the divine intelligence. So then what do? Our intelligence right now is limited because we play the human role. We get identified with the body and mind. Because of that, our thinking becomes a little narrow. We think in a very small, limited, circumscribed way. So in order to have a full view, whole picture, or think in a broad way, expand our consciousness, what is the method? We have to connect with the divine. That is what the inner guidance is. If we connect with the divine and intuitively feel the inner guidance. So we have done our part of logically thinking first, calmly, then we take the inner guidance is the second one. Then you know what is to be done. Now the third point. After that, we have to act. It's not enough, just only think that just have a plan. Just having plan is not enough. We have to be practical. So that means whatever we have thought of, we have to just translate into action. So lovingly and firmly act as directed by our intuitive inner guidance. How we have been guided by that. So we have to act after that. So now you see the steps if we follow any type of problem, whatever it is, whether it is a problem of health problem of our body, or some physical problem, mental problem, or some financial problem, matrimonial problem, or problem in the business, or whatever it is, any type of problem, if we follow these 3 steps, then we can be more or less, we can be sure that without worry, we will be able to proceed in a very perfect way, or we'll be able to find effective solution to our problem. Okay? Paramahansa Yogananda says, with the regular practice of scientific yoga meditation, mapped out by our ancient rishis, one can reverse the process of identification with our outer role, which we normally do all the time, and gradually become aware of the inner spiritual nature. By the process of interiorization of consciousness, we start manufacturing in the temple of inner factory the quality of peace. That means peace is to be manufactured within, which enables us to follow the third step which you have seen, lovingly and firmly act. So Paramahansa Yogananda puts it nicely. He says, we enjoy the peace and joy in the temple of stillness, where we do meditation. We just interiorize and experience peace and joy. Then we are equipped to fight for truth. That means the part we need to play our role in this world in calmness. So this is summarized by Guruji, Paramahansa Yogananda in this formula. Teach me to be calmly active and actively calm. Very easy to remember. But you have to think about it a little bit. Calmly active is understandable. That means we hold on to that calmness. We don't lose our calmness. We don't lose our peace. And then we act. Whatever situation comes, we never lose our peace. So this is a very highly, desirable state, but very difficult to attain. But to get that, we require the second part of the formula. That is very important. Actively calm. That means just sleeping in the night and getting passive calmness, that alone is not enough. We need to augment that peace which we get through sleep. The rejuvenation we get through sleep. We have to augment it by practicing this active calmness. What does it mean? That's what today we are going to focus on. After a while, soon, we'll be practicing also guided meditation a little bit. There, we'll try to experience that. What is that feeling calmness in an active way? Okay. So now, Bhagavad Gita also explains this process very precisely. Chapter 2, 48 sloka. Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya. Siddhya asidhya samobhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. That means being immersed in yoga, remaining immersed in yoga, perform all actions, forsaking attachment to their fruits, sangam tyaktva, and be indifferent to success and failure. Treat them in the same way. That mental evenness at all times, that is termed yoga. Those who don't call themselves yogis, but they practice this principle, they demonstrate that. I will tell you a little story, digress a little bit. Thomas Alva Edison, you all know, the great scientist who discovered the light bulb. He did for years, he did research in his laboratory. But then suddenly, one day, the whole laboratory caught fire. And those days, even insurance and all those things were not there. He lost everything in that. All the work for years, decades, whatever he had done, they all gone in that fire. So then he was just standing in front of the fire. His adult son was standing next to him. And then he was feeling sympathy for the father. Oh, my father how much he did in so many years, everything he lost now. How shall I console him? He was thinking like that. But then he looked at his father's face a little bit more closely, and he found that he was actually smiling. He thought that my father has become mad. So when everything is gone now, how can he smile at this time? How can he be cheerful? But then his father turned to him, son, all the failures which I had encountered in my life, all those failures now have gone with the fire. So I can now start with a fresh slate. So all the past, everything, all my failures, I can, dissolve from my consciousness. So you will be surprised. Just in a few months, he discovered the light bulb. Practical or not, you see? So I'm giving an example of somebody who you will not think as a yogi, but then he practices the same principle which Bhagavan Krishna is telling us, that when you encounter success, you don't become too much excited. And because of that, you lose your balance. Or when you encounter difficulties and challenges and problems, you don't become depressed and discouraged. So you have to maintain even-mindedness at all times. If you do that, then you see that is what yoga achieves for us. Yoga will give us that state of even-mindedness where we are not, we see in the right way. If a problem comes, we don't think of it as a problem or impediment in our progress. We take it as an opportunity for growth. There are two ways of looking at it. So we can look at it as, oh, ye to aa gaya, abhi kya karenge? Then we become, discouraged by that when the problem is encountered. But instead of that, suppose you say, okay, this challenge has come. I want to achieve what I set my mind to achieve. So my goal is there. I have to achieve that. And you are sure that that is the right thing for you by inner connection with God. You are intuitively, you know that this is the right thing for you to do. Then when challenge comes, you don't, accept that. You don't accept defeat. You say that, I am going to win. I will fight. I am going to win in this battle. So that type of strength and this one encouragement comes by practicing this even-mindedness, always remaining calm, always remaining inner joy. We'll come to that. Calmness leads to inner joy. That is the next step. So we need to act with detachment and with even-mindedness, which is yoga. Thus, even when we play our roles very responsibly and effectively, that means a person who is well versed in yoga, he is also going to be a very skillful person. Just because I am going to act, even-mindedly or calmly, that means jo bhi kaam karenge isse ho jayega, chal jayega. Aisa nahi. That I am going to be the best in my field. I am going to be the most, nobody else has done this job. I am going to do that way. So, in that way, that drive is also there to be to be the best person in that field. So, when we play our roles like this with responsibility and efficiency, but we develop the skill to continue to remain in joy. That's a really beautiful, isn't it? We can always be joyous inside. At the same time, we are also achieving things in the outside world. That's what yoga teaches us, how to do that. So, naturally, we are enabled in the consciousness to rid of all the worries that way. And then we also live in ever new joy. So now let us have a small break because you have been listening for quite some time. So let us have something hands-on experience, a practical experience of meditation. So we'll have a meditation break now. So what we do, all of you, you take a comfortable posture where you are now. When we do meditation, the most important thing is to keep the spine, the cerebrospinal axis in a straight line. That means our chin is parallel to the ground, head and spine, they are all there in one straight line. And hands are comfortably placed on the joint of the thigh joint, very close to that, or a little bit away, it's all right. Thigh joint is the best because automatic check is there that our spine is always kept straight. Shoulder blades out and chest out and the stomach in. Now, the one important point. So there are just only 3 points for a good meditation posture. Spine straight, we already said that. And second is just relax the body. Keep the body relaxed. And third is keep the eyes closed or half closed and fix them at the point between the eyebrows. This is called the Kutastha center, and just place the eyes there at this point. slightly uplift your eyes. Look up. That means it's not straight line. It's not down. When we look down, we go to subconscious state of sleep or dream state. When we go up, this top to Turiya, this is called the superconscious center of superconsciousness, where it will take us to Turiya state of consciousness. Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti and Turiya, fourth state of consciousness. So when we focus here, automatically we are enabled to go into that deeper state of consciousness. That's why in meditation, it's always important, but don't strain your eyes. We try to look up with a lot of strain, then our muscle, there will be tension here. We can't really meditate properly in that case. So, then what is required is that we need to just focus our eyes here gently. Keep your eyes closed if you want, or half closed as you wish. But make sure your eyes are up, they don't come down. So kindly let us all take the position, keeping the spine straight, keeping the body relaxed, and keeping the eyes closed, and keeping fixed at the point between the eyebrows. So this is the meditation posture. Paramahansa Yogananda says, you cannot buy peace. You must know how to manufacture it within, in the stillness of your daily practices in meditation. Those who meditate feel a wonderful inner quiet. So this is the most practical science in the world. Because this is very practical. We know, we learn how to exactly get that peace instantly. So we all like instant things in this world. We want immediately anything, But then, can we instantly get peace? This is a question we have to ask. Can we instantly get joy? Paramahansa Yogananda says yes. What is the way? By mastering this meditation. If we learn how to do meditation, then any moment, Paramahansa Yogananda says many times, he is doing some work, actively busy. Suddenly, he will just close his eyes and focus here. Whole world is gone. He perceives only God's infinite light. That means the whole creation is just shut out completely. That he is there in that joy immediately. So it is possible to reach that state. All of us can do that also. But little by little we have to do. We have to take baby steps. We cannot just suddenly jump to that state. That means wherever we are now, just take the next step. So first step is keep the body relaxed. Keep the body, spine straight. And keep the eyes focused and fixed at the point between the eyebrows. So this is the first thing in the meditation now. Now all of you please take that position. Now we are going to practice relaxation. Because in meditation, the important point is to keep the body relaxed and to keep the mind also relaxed. If you are tense, then meditation cannot happen. How to keep the body relaxed? So this is something, spine also has to be kept straight. Body also has to be kept relaxed. Because sometimes when you try to relax, we just slump. But we have to remain straight also. Spine should be straight, at the same time body also should be relaxed. It takes time. But then there is one scientific technique in order to effect relaxation that Paramahansa Yogananda has given. What is that? That is, first let us take the meditation posture, then it will be better. Just close your eyes and keep them at the Kutastha center. Keep the spine straight. Now, just exhale with a double breathing through the mouth. One short, one long. Okay. Now, we will tense the whole body and inhale slowly through the nostrils and tense the whole body completely, making fist. So head to feet, the whole body is under tension. Hold to a count of 6. Quickly we'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now double breathing exhalation and let go. Relax. Completely relax. Okay, let us again do. Inhale slowly and tense. Exhale quickly. Relax. Let us do once more. Tense slowly. Inhale. Exhale quickly. Now, what we do is, as the breath is out, we will not take the breath on our own. Let the breath come on its own. We are going to remain at the point between the eyebrows. Eyes are fixed there. Mind is also there. Now, we just observe the breath. As if we are seeing somebody else's breath, we are going to observe the breath. Before that, we will practice one breathing exercise to help us to do that. In this breathing exercise, you will breathe slowly to a count of 10 and hold to a count of 10 and exhale to a count of 10 through the nostrils. Ordinary regular breathing, but controlled breathing. Slowly we breathe in. Slowly, let us all try. I will just give the count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now exhale slowly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So let us repeat again. Slowly count to your, mentally count to a count of 10. Hold. Now we'll exhale through the mouth to a count of 10. Again, let us inhale through the nostrils slowly, count of 10. Hold. Exhale through the mouth. Now, take one breath and exhale it quickly with a double breathing. Let the breath be out now. Don't take on your own. Let it come on its own. Whenever you feel like breathing, let the breath come. You just observe it. Like a third party, Sakshi, you are just observing the breath coming and let it go when it wants. Let it come when it wants. Let it go when it wants. Just observe it for a while. We're going to do for 2 minutes. Just simply observe the breath coming and going. Don't let the mind go anywhere else. Keep it tight to watching the breath only, nothing else. The breath is just slowly coming on its own and it's going out on its own. And if it doesn't want to go immediately, don't force it, enjoy that. Let the breath just come, let the breath just go. Another 1 more minute, let us observe. Now take a breath and expel it quickly. Now forget the breath. Just remain at the point between the eyebrows. Don't come down. Let the eyes remain there. Mind remain there. Just enjoy the calmness you are feeling now. You are very comfortable. You are very calm. Just enjoy. Slowly that calmness will yield to joy, happiness. You may feel some happiness inside. Sometimes when you go deep, you get that joy bubbling from within. Even if you don't feel, calmness surely you will feel. So just enjoy the calmness for a while. The mind may want to wander. So in order to keep it tied to this feeling of calmness, there are a few methods to follow. We have already done watching the breath and enjoying the stillness. Now we will practice visualization method to expand that awareness. expand that calmness more, hold on to that for a longer period. We can also do that with affirmation or prayer or with chanting. So now first we'll do with visualization. Maybe after that we'll do a little chanting also. That may also help. So we are at the point between the eyebrows. Just visualize or imagine a small point of light. Feel that a small light is forming at the Kutastha. That light is endowed with joy. That is slowly expanding. It is becoming larger and larger. It is covering the whole eyebrows, all the eyebrows, the whole of forehead is now covered with that light. And whole face is covered with that light now. Think of the whole face immersed in that light, full of joy. Then again, further expand, whole body is now filled in light, filled with light. So visualization is like imagination, but it helps us to remember who we are slowly. So we should not stop in the middle. Don't let the mind go anywhere else. Just go on expanding continuously. So after the body, we feel that expansion of the calmness and joy and light. Now we expand further. Feel that the whole room where we are, that is filled with that light. Expand further. Beyond the room, whole area where we are, the particular area where we are located, that whole area is immersed in that. You get the idea? Now you expand further. Whole of the city like Mumbai or Ranchi or wherever we are, that whole city is now immersed in that light and it is full of joy. Further expand. Whole of our state, Maharashtra or Jharkhand or wherever we are, that whole state. Further expand. Whole of India now is now immersed in that light and joy. Then expand further. Whole of Asia and the whole world. The whole world, the globe, is now swimming in that light. And it is full of joy. Expand further. Our system, solar system, all the planets revolving around the sun. The whole thing is immersed in that light and joy. Expand further. Our whole galaxy, all the stars in our system, all the stellar systems, they're all swimming in that joy, light. Further expand beyond many galaxies, not only our Milky Way, all the other galaxies in ever expanding circles, to our left, to our right, front, behind, above, beneath, within, without, in all directions, infinite directions, that light is spreading, that joy is spreading. Now, just open your eyes, look at your body, just briefly. Close your eyes again. You think, oh, I am not this tiny body. I am this infinite sphere of light, infinite sphere of joy. I am not this small body, tiny body. Think to yourself like that for a while. Think that I am this joy. I am this light. I am one with God. Aham Brahmasmi. God is joy. I am one with God. One with God. I am one with joy. Just feel it for a while. And we will augment it now with chanting, because chanting helps us to put the feeling also there, along with the thought. The feeling is also involved. That helps us to meditate deeply. So what we are going to sing is very simple. Joy, 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 ever new joy. That's all. All of you can just follow that. Keep your eyes closed, don't open. Just join and get into the feeling and feel the joy more and more. on feeling the joy inside. Mentally, you can go on chanting Anand, Anand, Nitya Naveen Anand. Joy, 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 ever new joy, ever new joy, ever new joy. Try to feel it. As you say mentally, try to feel the joy. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you. I hope all of you experienced a little bit of that peace and joy, which is our real native state. When you make a little effort to relax, to detach from the outside world, go inside, then we start feeling that joy. So even if you are very new to meditation, straight away you will start feeling a little bit of that, even then. But if you regularly practice, just like all of you, many of you are professionals, tax consultants and dealing with money, dealing with finances. In a bank, when we put some money in that deposit, then we can go on withdrawing. But if we don't put regular deposits in the bank, we only go on withdrawing, very soon we'll become bankrupt, isn't it? The same way, in our life, we have to manufacture that peace, manufacture that joy inside, put regular deposits of that every day. So if we keep doing that, then whatever outer situations, any challenges, problems, whatever is happening, we have tremendous, that inner support is there. That's why meditation takes us to a higher state of consciousness, where peace, tranquility, serenity, equilibrium, balance, strength, harmony, love, clarity, understanding, wisdom and joy reign supreme. केवल इसको पढ़ने से इतना बढ़िया लगता है. So if we can really get all these qualities, won't that be wonderful? And it is possible. It is very practical, because meditation is the science of the soul. When we practice that, we get all these things. That's what God wants. God's plan is full of joy. He wants us to be joyous. He wants us to be happy. But we misuse the independence we have got, and we get identified with outer roles and lose sight of our inner guidance which will come to us if only we practice every day some meditation. That's why good practice is every day when you get up in the morning, spend some time in doing this meditation. Then similarly, evening before taking food or before going to bed in the night, sit for a while, get that peace and joy. Then it become a habit. Every day, if you keep depositing money in the account of our consciousness, so we put deposit of peace every day. So then we will be much better off. Okay. The next slide also tells us. In the autobiography, I have taken this quotation from there. Paramahansa Yoganandaji's Guru, Swami Sri Yukteswarji, tells us the meditation practice specific to Yoga, that is called Kriya Yoga. So when the mind has been cleared by Kriya Yoga of sensory obstacles, that means we are able to detach completely from the outside world, from the five senses, and we reach the state of stillness. Then meditation provides twofold proof of God. It is no longer just kalpana or imagination or just talking about it or speculation or just our own concept, etc. But real direct experience. We have a twofold proof of God. What is that? One, ever new joy is the evidence of His existence, convincing to our very atoms. Then we feel the joy coming from inside. Then all the doubts vanish. We no longer have any, doubt after that. Then second, it's not just only feeling the joy, but practical guidance. That means we find instant guidance, adequate response to every difficulty. That means when we become calm, our intuition works, because intuition works only when we are calm. And when we do deep meditation and we get that joy and we get that calmness, then any problem we have, we place before the divine intelligence. And through intuition, we get the solution. What is the right step to take? You get the insight. Then we get instant guidance, adequate response to every difficulty. So this is a wonderful thing. That's why meditation helps us in both ways. Just to go inside and feel the joy. Also, in the outer roles, whatever we are playing, how to do the right thing at the right time. Because that is the important thing. Do the right thing at the right time. The timing is also important, and also doing the right thing. So that comes by through that guidance, intuitive guidance we get from inside. Okay. So to recapitulate, yoga entails right activity or playing our outer roles in life well, remembering that we are actually immortals, but playing the drama of life of duality. Isn't this a concept so simple to grasp? But many challenges occur when we try to apply this principle in daily lives. However, if we keep in mind the basic principles Paramhansa Yoganandaji explains in the Autobiography Yoga, especially the last chapter, those of you who wish to get this insight, I highly recommend reading the autobiography, especially the last chapter. Then, even if we are not fully convinced as we read them, doesn't matter. Assume to be true. Just like in experiments in chemistry or in any physical sciences, we assume a hypothesis, then we try to prove it experiment by experiment, then we accept it. Similarly, here also, we assume that it is true, practice it, and see whether it is true or not. That is, spiritual scientist we have to become. So, what are these truths in the last chapter? I just took out just only 4. 1, God is love. His plan for creation can only be rooted in love. Isn't it so comforting to the human heart? God is love. His plan for creation can only be rooted in love. So we feel like connecting to such a being, isn't it? The infinite being, God, who is supreme power, but he is also full of love. So we are able to connect very easily. We form a good relationship, like a father or mother or friend, whatever we want. Or we want impersonal, formless, like a light, joy. That is also fine. Inform or formless, or a particular avatar, Rama, Krishna, Shiva, like that, whatever way we want, no problem. Whatever way you like, you can connect with God. So second point, all of us, every one of us, we can regain our divine status of consciousness just by doing 3 things. That's a most wonderful thing. Condensing the whole thing, Paramhansa Yoganandaji tells us, 1, regular daily practice of scientific yoga meditation. Because this helps us scientifically to detach from the outer world, relax and go inside and experience consciously the peace and joy. That's why it's very important, regular, twice daily practice of meditation. Next, daily observance of moral and ethical principles, which are given in the 10 commandments of, for example, the all the Christian and Judaism. And also Yama Niyama principles, which is given in our this one. So the observance of moral and ethical principles. These are very simple and straightforward and common sense. And we know in our conscience these are true. Because our conscience tells us, anytime we go against, something tells us you are doing wrong. This is not correct. Dharma ka virudh hum log kaam nahi karna chahiye. Dharma ke anusar karne se andar mein hamesha shanti rehti hai. So that type of, that according to conscience, following the ethical principles, don't tell lies, don't, do any violence to anybody, and conserve your power, keep your body always clean, keep your mind clean, be always content, even-minded, all these things, simple, straightforward principles. These are the Yama Niyama. Observe all these things in our daily lives. Second point, that is the right behavior. Third, sincere ability to long for truth or cry to God, I yearn to know thee. That is the feeling side, heart side. From the heart, there is a desire, yearning. I want to know the truth, or I want to know God. I want to love God, all that, devotion and all that, whatever. That is just our goal-oriented approach. So now, next one. This is the most, just the previous one. So now you see this, what you are seeing right now. This is a very wonderful thing to hear. When I first read it, I was really spellbound. Wow, so beautiful it is. That means God loves each one of us very dearly because He created each one of us with unique quality. So because of that, each one of us were very dear to God. When He created us, He only thought of us. So he or she, it's all same, father, mother, because God is, both. So that God, when He created us, He created like that with uniqueness. And our job is to bring out that uniqueness. So, but God has also created a lot of challenges. It is not easy to bring out that uniqueness. Whatever uniqueness we have to, against all odds, that is what the adventure of life is. So when we try to bring out, God gives us infinite number of chances. Again and again, He gives us chance. But then we get sidetracked. But again, God brings us back. My child, you have to just go in this direction. We don't listen. Then God allows us to make mistakes. And we make mistakes, we suffer. Then we turn to God again. Okay, you guide now. I have suffered. I know that if I don't listen to you, unnecessarily I get into trouble. I start worrying about things. I become fearful. I become angry, upset. All those negative emotions, they catch me. I don't want that. I want to be always joyous. I want to be happy. I want to be fulfilled. I want to be content. Then, we follow the inner guidance. And remember that we have to bring out that uniqueness. इसलिए याद रखना, हम लोगों सभी भगवान के सामने स्पेशल हैं. We have in Tamil one saying, "Kakekum tan konju pon konju," which means even for mother crow, the baby crow is very special. Though it is very black in color and all that may not be very beautiful, but to the mother, it's very special. So you see, God is looking at us like that. He doesn't see our flaws. He doesn't see all our shortcomings. He sees us as soul with that uniqueness with which we are endowed with. That is why we should have that idea. This type of concept should be there. So if we have that, then we see they are very much encouraged to go on making the best effort. Now we come to the current situation. So we need to remember one fact. This world is created out of duality. Because without duality, the world is not possible, creation is not possible. So then, where do we find eternal fulfillment or that Satchidanand? Where do you discover that? It is by rising above duality, by transcending this duality. That is where we will find that infinite happiness. That means as long as we look for happiness in this world, मुझे ये मिलने से हो जाएगा, वो इच्छा पूर्ण होने से मेरा जीवन बढ़िया हो जाएगा. If I get that, if I get this, we have all sorts of ideas and desires. But no matter how many desires we fulfill, no matter we are a very famous person in the world, we have all the wealth in the world, we are, that the world-shaking dictator, we will not be fulfilled. Why? Because our joy lies in rising above duality. In duality, we can never find happiness because here we always have happiness means sorrow. Health means we have sickness. Light means darkness. So this world is created that way. That is what is called Maya. By the power of Maya, by delusion, that whole world has been created. So we should keep that in mind. So how do we get out? Simple analogy will help. Suppose there is a thorn in our flesh. What do? We take another equal instrument which is very sharp, a knife or needle or whatever, or another thorn which is very sharp. We use this thorn to dig and then take out that thorn. And once we take out both the thorns, we can throw away. So similar to that, in order to, without siding with the evil side of creation, because creation has got both good and evil, both light and darkness. So instead of siding with the darkness, we side with the light. That is by using the thorn, good thorn. With this thorn, then we tackle the evil. We rise above evil by becoming good. Then we rise above good and evil both. We rise above duality. That is the way to go. It's so simple, so clear and straightforward. That is why it's necessary for us to be always do the right thing. Side with the divine side. Because God has created the world, but then he also created and gave independence to that force which is taking us out, which is, that from one unity, we get diversity. So that other force is always trying to keep us in the other plane of diversity. It doesn't want us to get back. So that fights, there's a fight. This is the Mahabharata Yudh, Kurukshetra fire war, which is going on. That is manifesting in so many ways. Inside our body, outside, and the society, government, everywhere, we find the same struggle between good and evil. That is goes on. Right now, Navaratri is starting tomorrow. Then we have the Durga Puja. Then we have Dashara. Then we have Diwali. All these festivals, we should remember one thing. There is the triumph of goodness over evil. That is what we celebrate. So, if the divine forces are victorious over asuric forces, which are trying to keep us down and keep us at the lower plane, grosser plane, we need to go to the finer plane, higher plane. So for that, we have to cooperate. We have got a choice. God is not a dictator. He has created the world, but he has given us free choice. We can go towards the path of light, in the path of light, or we can go in the path of leading to darkness. So if it is up to us, if we are careless, we just go on making mistakes and go on, remaining in the dark side, then nobody can help us. We have to help ourselves by cooperating with God's laws and becoming good and good day by day and walking in the path of light. So that is what the festival should remind us, that now we determine. Doesn't matter how my life had become previously pulled me here and there. Now I'm going to control my life. I'm going to be a master of my life. I'm going to control my mind. I'm going to control my body. It is possible to do that because we are endowed with that power and strength. You don't use them. That's why we think we are just weak, that I cannot do this, I cannot do that. It's very difficult for me. I got so many difficulties. आप जानते नहीं हैं मुझे कितना परेशान मैं हूँ. मेरा जगह में रहने से आप ही इसी प्रकार चिंता करेंगे. इस प्रकार, all that we can do all sorts of justification and try to remain in the same plane, but it doesn't help. If you really want to, make a difference in this world, personally or in the globally or in the society, what we need to do, we need to keep on improving. Constant improvement is what is required. So if you keep that step, keep on taking that step, slowly we find, yes, there is a divine purpose in life, and that is full of joy. That is what, we will be able to manifest that more and more. Okay. Now, I will give you some 10 practical points for you to apply in daily life. These are so simple, very simple. Because of that, you may think that, oh, itna aasan hai, ye sab kaam karega. You may even think like that. But if you really, think of them and apply them, you will see the difference. So, okay, we start with number 1, keep the mind calm through the practice of meditation. This we already experienced a little bit. Why don't you make it a practice in your life? Every day spending some time. Start with just 10 minutes or so in the morning, 10 minutes or so, 5 or 10 minutes in the evening. Make it regular practice. Don't just do for 3 days and then stop for 10 days. इस प्रकार irregular होने से काम नहीं करेगा. You have to become नियमित रूप से करना चाहिए. हर दिन आपको टाइम लेके प्रैक्टिस करना मेडिटेशन. Second, think one thought at a time. This seems so simple. But normally we don't think that. When we are doing some work in the office, we think about our family problem, or think about something else, or think about our, the corona problem. What is going to happen now? How the world is going to recover from this? And we cannot focus at all in that case. Just like Chetanji said in the beginning, when our mind is in that way pulled here and there by worries, how can we really focus? How can we really function in a natural way? So to overcome that, very simple thing, think one thought at a time. Whatever you are doing, focus on that. Finish that, then take another one. The next one, this is also very simple. Don't interrupt others while they are talking. Let them complete their sentences. It seems very simple, very easy to do. But normally when we are in a hurry, when we are under tension, what do? We want to cut off the other person. We want to say what we want to say and get out. We don't even allow the other person to speak. We don't listen with empathy. We just want to give aggressively whatever we want to say, we want to do and get going. But that is causing us tension and it is not helping us at all. Whereas when we allow the other person to talk, listen with empathy, we ourselves become relaxed. We become free from tension. Fourth point, read books that require deep concentration. Now that is becoming more and more challenging. With all the modern gadgets and multimedia, that our attention span is becoming less and less. That we don't really concentrate at all. Mind is just going here and there. So that is why it's very important. Read books that require deep concentration. Don't read trash, but read something which will stimulate your thinking. You have to pay attention. Then the byproduct, you will find you become calm, you become relaxed. Not only you gain wisdom and knowledge, but you also become relaxed in the same process. So spend every day some time reading. Next, learn to eat slowly. I normally tell the students, college students, whenever I give talks to them, even fast food should be eaten slowly. Because how the nature has designed our body. We have to masticate the food and some digestion happens in the mouth itself. If we don't do that, we gulp down the food, then everything goes to stomach. Then the stomach is overloaded. Then we get into all sorts of problems. So this simple thing, learn to eat slowly. We'll enjoy the food more and we will not overeat also because of that. Next one, exercise regularly. This is very important, especially for people who are high achievers. Whenever I give talks to chartered accountants, this is one thing I just stress very much because many of them, they don't exercise at all. They say, Swamiji, हम लोग को इतना pressure है, इतना घंटा काम करना पड़ता है, exercise के लिए कहाँ से समय निकालेंगे? It's very understandable, isn't it? Suppose I sympathize with them and say, fine, you don't know what to do. But nature will not forgive us. So we may try to give bahana de sakte hain. Lekin by nature, we are designed to use the body. Physical body should be used. So we have to exercise. गुरुजी बताते हैं पसीना निकलना चाहिए उतना vigorously आपको exercise करना चाहिए हर दिन. So do some exercise, fast walking, running or swimming, whatever you want. Do something so that body works, is taken to a vigorous condition. So that is very important. Next one, recreate. Learn to enjoy simple things of life. This is also modern man. Many times he gets so obsessed with all the things to be done. Oh, मुझे वो करना, ये करना, दिन और रात केवल उसी के ऊपर focus कर रहा है. He is a businessman. He thinks about business all the time. Business. Whatever. But that is not the way to enjoy life. Once a job is done, the office se nikal gaye, forget the office. Now you just focus on what you are doing and simple things enjoy. For example, the picture we are showing background, how nice it is, mountains and all that. So there was a research scholar. He used to go from his apartment to his department to do the work. And from his department, he would come back to the apartment. Then somebody asked him, on the way, did you observe this nice flower which is blooming now? He said, no, मैं तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं देखता हूँ. मैं अपना apartment से department जाता हूँ. Department से फिर apartment आ जाता हूँ. और बाकी और कुछ नहीं देखता हूँ. You see, that is how sometimes we become obsessed. We don't enjoy simple things in life. If you learn to enjoy simple things in life, you see how much of tension will go away. We become very relaxed after that. Next point is very much similar. Relax, don't get bogged down in little things. Like suppose an examination is going to come after 2 months, or we got a promotion interview in 3 months. Now itself we start worrying. Oh, ये कैसे होगा? मैं ठीक से करूँगा कि नहीं? मैं fail होने से क्या होगा? So all sorts of thoughts, unnecessary thoughts, they are not helping at all. So don't get bogged down in little things, just relax. Whatever you need to do, just focus and do. Like in cricket, for example, the trainers, they tell us how to play, for example. Yeah, fast bowling is there. How to play it in different ways. How should be your footwork. How you should handle this ball, etc. All the techniques. But after that, when you play, forget everything else. Just go with the flow. Just see the ball and just play. That's all. Don't think about all the techniques, isn't it? So that is what the way to just relax. What you have done, good preparation, then forget it. Just do your best. That's all. Next one, set aside time for seclusion when you can be alone and have time to think. Because this is very important. All the time we are with people doing the same thing day after day. Naturally, we are going to become very tense. Occasionally, we should take time off. 1 day in a week, half a day in a week, or 2 days in a month. Just go off alone. Be in silence. Be in seclusion. Think deeply. Where your life is headed. Introspect and see whether any course correction is required. All these things, if we do, then really we will make a difference in our lives. The last point, keep your mind fixed all the time on the pole star of divine presence. As we said, from joy we have come, and we are supposed to return back to the joy. Joy is the goal of life. And to be free from all troubles, that is the goal of life. So keep that, your mind on the pole star of divine presence. That means joy is that. Keep that your attention on that. I mean, focus on that. No matter what we are doing, background of your mind, be always clear. My purpose of life is to get back to my native state of Sat Chit Anand. That is the purpose of my life. So if we keep reminding ourselves and keep focusing on that, then we find our life goes in the right direction. So thank you all for listening patiently. All these whatever points I had shared with. I had shared all this because I found them to be very helpful in my life. And I thought you also will enjoy that, that listening to all this. Then you don't have to accept everything. But whatever you listen, think about it. Think for yourself and see how you can apply in your daily life. And as you keep on practicing, you will see the effect. Because you will see that more and more you are becoming very productive, very successful. And more you are becoming calmer and joyous, happy individuals. And you don't get upset, you don't become angry, you don't get irritated, and you don't get depressed. You are always upbeat. You are always, full of enthusiasm. We surely want to be all of that. So all these are possible if we apply these simple principles like meditation, then a few things, whatever I shared, whatever is possible for you to do that. And those of you who have not read autobiography, again, I will request you please read that, because Paramhansa Yoganandaji brings these highest teachings in a simple language which you and I can understand. That is his special ability to bring that. Otherwise, our rishis and munis, some of them in Sanskrit literature and all that, they are so tough, so difficult. But Guruji has translated all of that in a simple day-to-day language for us to understand. So let us all just use this opportunity given to us, and we can make a difference in our lives. And Paramhansa Yoganandaji said, reform yourself and you will reform thousands. That means if you want to change the society, you want to change the world, how do we start? We start with ourselves. We change ourselves first. We become happy individuals. We become calm individuals. Then we automatically contribute to the world peace, to the the eradication of problems, like the corona situation we are facing now, pandemic. Why it has come? That is because mainly most of the people, they are going against the cosmic laws. They are breaking the cosmic laws. Like violence, that selfishness, greed, all these things, they create tremendous evil negative vibrations. When that vibration becomes very strong, then we get earthquakes and natural calamities and pandemics. All of these things happen because of that. These are all happening mathematically, not just like that. This is not God's wrath or God's anger like that. It's not that. We ourselves have created that. Now we ourselves can clear it out also. That is by cooperating with the cosmic laws, by being in alignment with the divine plan in our individual lives and also our social lives and universal lives that we also can try to practice. Okay, thank you. Now I think we next to go to question and answer session. Can someone make an announcement about that?
Yeah. Swamiji. Yeah. I have one question. That how do you break the habit of worry? Because sometimes we don't have a situation in our life where we are worried, but the habit of constantly being in that anxiety of what next, what may come next. So how do you break this habit? Because sometimes there is actually nothing to worry, but there are so many I would say outward sources that make you worry. If you are not worried for yourself, you are worried for your family or your friends.
Yeah, sure. Very good question. You see, that is why we need to do practically something to manufacture peace inside. As I said before, if you have a good bank deposit, we have a good deposit of peace and joy inside. So when that fear or anxiety comes, compared to that, we have got much more tremendous capacity to just feel the happiness. So when we do that, then we are in a better position to handle it. That means we have to equip ourselves with a better capacity to handle it. So if you are in the current situation, we try to solve it. Like Einstein said, the problem which is created in one level, we cannot solve it by remaining in that level. We have to go to a higher level. And when you are in the higher level, the lower level problem becomes much easier to handle, isn't it? So same way, our consciousness, state of consciousness is to be raised to a higher level. Then we function from a higher level, higher dimension. Then from that dimension, handling this becomes very easy to do. It's not so difficult. So that is why we need to keep on raising the level of consciousness day by day. If we keep, practically, if we keep doing that, then it becomes possible. Otherwise, if we have only theory, academically we understand that we are souls, we are ever new joy, we are Satchidanand and all that. But when a problem comes, then immediately we feel anxious, we feel fearful. Then what is the point? That is, it's not helping us. It is just only a theoretical idea. But when that is translated into actual experience, we have something. That is what we need to do. That is why that doing meditation, by following the spiritual principles in life, by aligning with the divine plan, by being true to our conscience, by all these things, we raise our level of consciousness, then we'll be able to handle that fear. Because the law of displacement, that is the way. Suppose anything negative is there in our consciousness. How do you overcome? It is not by beating it and trying to get it out. It will never go. Like a darkness in a cave, you want to drive it out. No matter thousands of years we go on beating it, it will never go. Bring the light, darkness vanishes immediately. Similar to that, in our consciousness, we have fear, anxiety, so many habits, deep-rooted habits, probably many incarnations, samskars we have brought also from the past. All of that, they are very powerful, very strong. How do you overcome? Bring in something more powerful of that light, of something of that positive quality. The positive displaces the negative. That is the way to go. Okay, I hope it answers your question.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Okay.
Swamiji, I have one question. As you said that we should meditate and try to remove our worry. But what about after some time that doesn't last? So what should we do to keep it everlasting? Because once we are through the meditation, again that worry starts, which we have already forgotten. So how to go about it?
Good, good. That is how we start first. Actually, in the beginning, when we do meditation, we get a little joy, a little bit of peace. We feel comfortable, we feel good. But very fast, we find that we get into normal mode of existence. That all the problems and moods and other things, they all come and attack. So what do we do then? That is why we said that you remember that one formula, to be actively calm and calmly active. That means when we are functioning in the world, we should try to consciously retain that calmness with us, consciously retain the joy with us. Otherwise, if you are not conscious of it, then it may go away very fast. It will go away. So how do we consciously retain that? It is by reminding ourselves again and again. And now and then, that's why the practice of being true to our conscience. When we are true to our conscience, you find we can retain the calmness for a long time. There was not much difficulty. Whereas when we do something shortcut, when we just compromise the principles and we just because we want to get something done, everybody else is doing, let me also just do it like this. And in that way, we support ourselves and do all those things. Then we find we lose that peace very fast. So being true to the spiritual principles, we conduct our life according to principles, then we will be able to hold on. You will find it very interesting. The modern management gurus, for example, Stephen Covey, you may have heard of him, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He says that the first generation management was just simply achieving some particular goal and finish. Second generation was then prioritizing that, which one should be done first, which one is second. Third generation management is value-based management, where whatever has got value, we try to do that. And fourth generation management is principle-centered management, which means there are eternal principles operating in the cosmos. If you go against them, even though outwardly you may be successful, seemingly successful, you are not really successful. When you are principle-centered, then you are successful. You see, it sounds like as if our rishis and munis are talking. So modern research in management area and other areas, they are discovering the same principles now. Our original Sanatan Dharma, now that is being validated in the perfect way by through, through experiment. So this is the important point. That is, we go according to cosmic laws, align our life according to cosmic laws, and be true to the conscience. Then you will be able to hold on for a longer time and also introspect. That is one very important point. Every day before going to night, spend a little time. Morning to night, आज क्या मेरा दिमाग में चेतना में क्या क्या हुआ है? What are the things which happened in my life, and how I reacted, where I lost temper, where I remained calm. Analyze very dispassionately, very frankly, very honestly. Don't spare yourself. Don't rationalize. Just see wherever you did well, where you did not do so good. Once you analyze that, then all your shortcomings you will see. Then what caused that? Then think of that. This is a scientific way to make improvement. Introspection is a scientific way to make progress. So when we find you are losing your peace after some time, when you introspect, you will see the reason why you have done it, why you have lost it. Okay?